Hi everybody, welcome to this series of instructional videos on how to manufacture the Steenbeek foot abduction brace, the SFAB, also known as the Steenbeek clubfoot brace. It is this one. My name is Michiel Steenbeek, I work with CBM, Christian Blind Mission, and I'm based in Kampala in Uganda. If you want to know more about CBM, Christian Blind Mission, please go to their website, which is cbm.org, and the link is here. More on Katalemwa Cheshire Home and Rehabilitation Center, also on their website, and the link is here. This is the Steenbeek foot abduction brace. It is used around the world since 1998, mainly in low and middle income countries. It is used by babies and young children who were born with club feet and subsequently treated for their club feet by the Ponseti method. Thereafter, they will need to use the clubfoot brace at night to maintain that correction up to the age of about 5 years. More on club feet and the Ponseti method you can find on the website of the Global Clubfoot Initiative, GCI, and the link to GCI is here. The Steenbeek brace is produced around the world in workshops, mainly in low and middle income countries. It's produced with locally available materials, tools, equipment, and local staff, usually shoemakers. The local production approach makes it possible to keep the cost very low, usually around $10 to $15 in most countries. And apart from that, of course, it creates local employment, which is also very important. Currently, about 73,000 pairs of Steenbeek braces are produced around the world in about 22 lower middle income countries that I know of. Countries like India and Bangladesh produce thousands of very colorful and attractive braces, as you can see on the next picture. On the website of globalhelp.org is a production manual of the Steenbeek brace. It's there in English, French, and Spanish. The manual describes all the different parts, the steps, the materials, and the tools needed for producing a good quality brace. In the back of the manual, there are the different parts of all the parts of the shoe. So with this series of videos, we will follow the different steps in this manual as well, but go into a bit more detail and quality aspects. Let's look at a couple of characteristics of the Steenbeek brace. Basically, it is 2 leather shoes connected with a round metal bar at a distance which is similar to the width of the shoulders of the baby. Both shoes are in 70 degrees abduction. They're in 70 degrees external rotation, which we in the clubfoot world call it abduction. Both shoes are also in dorsiflexion, meaning the toes are a bit higher than the heel. If you can see that, if this is straight, then it has gone up like that, which is about 10 to 15 degrees. It is an open-toed shoe, so you can open it completely. That is practical because you can always see the toes and you can position the baby's foot well in the shoe. So it has a straight medial border, which is important to keep the forefoot of the baby's foot away from the internal deviation. The straight medial border is important to keep the foot corrected inside the shoe. It has a low posterior cut, meaning if this is straight, the back of the shoe is lower, the heel cup here is lower than the front of the shoe, in front of the ankle. At the back of the ankle, posterior, the shoe leather is lower than in front of the ankle. We call it a low posterior cut. It also has a marked rounded heel cup, notably rounded heel cup. And those two features, the low posterior cut and the rounded heel cup, are important to keep the baby's heel and to keep the baby's foot well fixed inside the shoe. Lastly, there is an inspection hole on the medial part of the shoe. And that is important so that the caretakers and the clinicians can see well that the baby's heel is well positioned and in the back of the shoe. So those are some of the characteristics. Now, how do we name all these different parts of the shoe? This part is the upper leather, and it is made out of, as they say in the shoemaking world, of upper leather. It has a back strap, a heel strap here, which is made of leather lining, ideally in a contrasting color, so that it makes it more attractive. This is the tongue of the shoe, also made of leather lining, which is the best for the baby's foot. Then inside the shoe there is a heel counter, also made of heel leather, of leather lining, in order to reinforce the heel cup. Then lastly, I have a partly finished shoe here. The sole of the shoe is made of 6mm plywood. And the plywood is fixed with rivets to the bar. So the rivets appear also inside the shoe, and therefore there is this single ply corrugated cardboard to cover the rivet heads and to make it a bit soft inside. Then lastly, there is a sock lining, also made of leather lining, ideally, to cover the whole inside of the shoe. You can see there's a bit of a shortage of leather lining in the country, so we have used Rexine here, which also works, but is not so good. So then there is the abduction bar. It is 6mm or 7mm round bar, mild steel round bar. And it is fixed to two metal plates of 6 centimeters by 2 centimeters, and it is fixed with two blind rivets or pop rivets on each side. Lastly, there is a shoelace, and that one should also be of good quality so that it does not tear apart. Okay, so now that we know everything about the shoe, the characteristics and the naming, we should start to produce the shoe actually. And as I mentioned, on the website of globalhelp.org, there is the manual with all the different materials and the steps, and in the back are the different patterns. So we need to start using these patterns. How do we get them? Well, download the manual, then you print the manual, and you make an extra copy of the patterns in the back. So if you make a copy or print, make sure that the ruler that is on the edge of the paper is indeed about with 1 centimeter intervals or 9mm. That is also acceptable. So print them again, copy them again, and so that you have a set of separate papers with the patterns. Then these patterns need to be copied on strong, solid cardboard like that. Okay, and you can use carbon paper, old-fashioned, but it works. So I've done that already for you. We've copied all the patterns on strong cardboard, and those patterns in the future will be for you to do mass production. I have made an extra red line here just to remember, to emphasize the fact that if you trace patterns, that you keep that curve, you keep that rounding of the heel cup very clearly. Don't take a shortcut or so, because that rounding is very important. So now you have for one shoe, for one brace, you have all the different patterns. Now you need to cut them out, and you use your shoe knife and your scissors or anything else to cut these out, so that you end up with all the different, let's say, jigs now. They will be your future jigs for mass production. Of course, you can use something different than strong, solid cardboard. You could use 3mm polypropylene or polyethylene, or what they use in the shoemaking world, toe puff, yeah, or insole. Anything that is strong and can function in the future as your jig. This is again polypropylene, or even here, plastic from containers or buckets, as long as it is nice and flat and it doesn't wear out. You will understand if you've used this one of cardboard for 1,000 shoes, then the edge will become smaller and smaller. But anyway, now you have all the different parts that you can then copy on the actual shoe material. So shoes are made of leather, lining, some cardboard, plywood, rubber sole, okay, at the bottom of the shoe. So trace each part on the so this is the leather, and of course the upper leather goes on the upper leather. Don't forget to flip it over, so that you have an inside and an outside for each shoe. So you trace it there, including the eyelet holes, and this one is for the heel counter. This one is for the lining. Also, that one you have to flip it over. The sock lining is that, and these are different materials that you can use at the bottom of the shoe when you are finishing it. The tongue on leather, and then you have that. So on the plywood you do the same, and one flipped over. And for this is cardboard, single ply corrugated cardboard. That is enough, and it is cheap everywhere. So then, when you have all the materials in the shoe material, then cut it out with your knives, with your scissors. This one obviously with a jigsaw, and you can use a rough file, so that by the end you have all the different parts of the shoe as is laid out here. You have the upper leather, the heel strap, the tongue, the heel counter, the sock lining, the plywood, and so on. So we can now almost complete the shoe. What we do not yet have for the brace is the bar. And we need to make a bar later on, and we'll do that in the second video. But for now, you are set with all the different parts for the shoe. And so far, the different tools that you have used are here. You've used a knife, scissors, a whetstone, a punch, jigsaw, profile, maybe sandpaper for the plywood, or you use a machine. What you also have to do at this stage is to drill the holes in the plywood, because later on the bar needs to be fixed to the plywood. So you need to drill the holes in it, and the holes should be corresponding exactly with the holes in the plates of the abduction bar. So for that you should make a template, a jig as well, and we'll show that later to you as well. It's just for you now to know that you need to drill the holes there, and then you are set. So for now, this was the first video, and we go to the next video when we'll make the abduction bar and the jigs for the abduction bar. And for that video, please click here.